Hello and welcome. Today we are going to cover how to make a great villain. I'll be focusing primarily on the Joker from The Dark Knight, so let's begin. This film received practically universal praise, and according to IMDb, it's the fourth best film of all time. There are many reasons why this film is considered in such high regard, but today I'll be focusing on just one, the Joker. The vast majority of filmmakers will all tell you the same thing, that the villain must have more power than the protagonist. Personally, I think it's an interesting statement, but I respectfully disagree. In The Dark Knight, the Joker has no money and no resources to mention. He has absolutely no power in the traditional sense, yet he is still one of the best villains of all time. A bad filmmaker will give his villains a massive army and near limitless power. Take, for example, Red Skull in Captain America, Sauron in Lord of the Rings, Malekith, Ronan in Guardians of the Galaxy. The list is endless. All of these characters have massive amounts of traditional power and none of the non-traditional. This is where these villains differ from the Joker. He has power, just not in the way we're used to. His entire power comes from his ability to attack with great intelligence straight at the Dark Knight's greatest weaknesses. The Joker even confesses how he has no real resources at all.
Look what I did to this city with a few drums of gas and a couple of bullets.
So this leads me to add point 1 onto the villain creation guide. Your villain needs to have more power than the hero. But don't make the mistake of giving them only the traditional power we've just discussed. It's fine for your villains to have massive amounts of money or a group of intimidating men, but unless you can back that up with an interesting villain, your conflict will be bland and uninteresting. This leads me to my second point, which is another field of characterization that the Joker excels at. It's the motivation. This right here is the bread and butter of a good villain. If your villain has a very weak or no real motivation, then your audience won't believe that character at all, and the conflict will again become bland and uninteresting. If you want your audience to empathize with the villain, having a solid motivation is the best way to do so. Take, for example, Loki in the movie Thor. His motivation is not more power or revenge, but rather the love and approval of his father. The Joker has an amazing motivation, which is cleverly explained by Alfred right here.
Because some men aren't looking for anything logical, like money. They can't be bought, bullied, reasoned, or negotiated with. Some men just want to watch the world burn.
The Joker's motivation is not more power or personal gain, unlike 99% of all other villains. He quite simply is a nihilist, which means he doesn't have any morals or beliefs. He genuinely doesn't care about any human life, including his men and also including his own, which is illustrated by how he starts laughing maniacally when Batman throws him off the roof. The Joker's philosophy of nothing really matters is illustrated at least 50 different times in the movie. But one of my favorite times is when he tells his story about how he got his scars. The first time he says his drunk father did it. The second time he says he did it to make his wife happy. The difference between these two stories is no accident. It proves that the Joker truly doesn't care about anything, including his past, because to him it doesn't matter, because to him everything is a joke. And believe it or not, his end goal was never to destroy Gotham. It was to prove that deep down everyone is like him. The Joker doesn't want to destroy the world. He just wants to convince it that when it comes down to it, him and the rest of humanity are not so different. He thinks for a person to become like him, all it takes is one bad day. And the Batman's philosophy is the exact opposite. He believes all criminals can be redeemed, that deep down everyone has the potential for good. The dynamic between the Joker and Batman is not the same as most other hero-villain dynamics out there. In most other stories, the villain wants to achieve an end goal, and the hero is the only obstacle in the road that can stop them. Or the opposite, the hero wants to achieve the goal, and the villain is the only one who can stop them. Well, in The Dark Knight, that is not the case. They are both competing for the exact same goal, the soul of Gotham City. And what I consider to be the icing on the cake for the Joker is, in the end, he wins. The Joker is interesting because at every point he is one step ahead of the Batman, A genius move by the Joker was with Harvey and Rachel. He lied to Batman and swapped their addresses, meaning no matter what Batman chose, he would lose. If he chose to save Rachel, she would die, and the Joker would win. And if he chose to save Harvey, he would die, and the Joker would again win. In the end, he accomplishes his true goals and shows the world Gotham's true face, the face of a big lie. Another genius move by the Joker is when he turned Harvey Dent into Two-Face. Because when the Joker turned Harvey Dent into Two-Face, he did it for a very specific reason: to create another scenario where it is impossible for Batman to win. If Batman and Gordon decided to reveal to the world that Harvey became Two-Face and that he murdered innocent people, then the reputation of Gotham's government would be forever destroyed and the Joker would win. And if they decided to cover up Harvey's atrocities and maintain his reputation as a White Knight of Gotham, which is what they did, in the end the Joker would win, because an entire system of justice, millions of people now believe and place their faith in one big lie. Now that's one hell of a last laugh that even the Joker can appreciate. This leads me to another point of making a great villain: let them win. This doesn't mean they have to have a complete victory in the end. But when the villain is victorious, even in small little ways, like the Joker did throughout the whole movie, adds a realistic grit to the story and makes the audience feel even more invested in the hero's quest, as they want him to succeed even more. If the Joker did not succeed in any of his plans, the audience would have been less engaged in the story. If Nolan put another version of the Joker in this film, it just wouldn't work right. Jared Leto's Joker, Jack Nicholson's Joker, or even the animated series Joker. None of them would have worked because of the nature of the film, but this is the only incarnation of Batman that has gone for absolute realism. And if the Joker were making wacky jokes or using explosive whoopee cushions for cheap gags, it just wouldn't be believable. The Joker is delivered in a tone that is consistent with the rest of the Dark Knight trilogy, a tone of utter realism. And this is why the Joker in this film is the best villain of all time. When Jack Nicholson's Joker killed a man by throwing a quill in his throat, it was interesting, but it was also quite ridiculous and reminded the audience that they were watching a movie and not a real life. And in the animated universe where the Joker poisons a group of people with his smile gas, it's shocking, but it's also cartoony in nature and reminds the viewer that they are watching an animation and not real life. But that is where The Dark Knight is completely different to every other incarnation of Joker in history. When the Joker slams a pencil through that man's head, it was shocking, yet completely believable. When the Joker blows up the hospital, set that pile of money on fire, and laughed when he's thrown to his death, these moments are all delivered in a completely believable way. At no point in The Dark Knight does the immersion break for the audience, because the Joker is delivered in such a terrifyingly realistic way. The audience believes he isn't just a character from a movie. He is a real-life human being. But the Joker is so believable, so hauntingly accurate to real life, that while the audience is watching The Dark Knight, the Joker could be one of the people behind them. Thanks for watching. Tell me in the comments whether I should continue uploading this kind of content. If you have any ideas at all on how I can improve my content, then please tell me in the comments below. All feedback, both good and bad, is hugely appreciated. Also, if you could like and subscribe, that would be nice too. Anyways, thanks for watching, and I will see you guys next time.